Live long and prosper.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer, what a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog.
Good times are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to episode 243 of A Play on Nerds. For the 243rd time, I'm Steve.
And I'm Jarman for the 243rd time as well.
If you don't know by now, you're never going to know.
Figure it out.
Well, this week we come back, we turn over our show to the hands of our AI overlords. We roll some dice, look at some random tables, and bring you Nerd Roll of Fortune, where we roll dice and then talk about whatever the hell. But instead, before that, we're going to talk about what's been up to what we've been up to in a section I call "Whatever the Hell."
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I've been calling this thing for years.
Sure.
German, what have you been up to since the last time we chatted?
Well, first I had my parents-in-law come over to stay with us for a little bit on Sunday. They came and they just want to visit with the baby, and she went out and got some Publix fried chicken for us and made some sides, and it was wonderful.
Ooh.
And then they left and stayed just for the day, and suddenly my wife starts getting violently ill, and I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. She's throwing up and everything, and I was like, well, she seems better now. She's cold in bed. She's got like a little fever, but I gave her some medication, and I went to work upstairs. And I go to bed, and all of a sudden, I start throwing up. So she starts taking care of me the best she can, but she's very weak and hurt. And so then about 6 hours later, when we texted her mom just to let her know that we both got sick, her mom says she got sick. And then 6 hours after that, her dad got sick. So all of us had some contaminated chicken from Publix, because we eliminated all the sides because each one of us didn't have like one of the sides. It was like one of those logic problems from like middle school where like Johnny had three of these and Sarah had three of these. So that was terrible. And my throat got all ripped up from the acid. So for 3 or 4 days, it's finally sounding mostly normal now. I couldn't record and anything because my throat was so raw and just terrible. But right now my wife is out visiting for her work. She's on a work trip to PAX East, which is a big convention for video games and gaming in general. They have one in Seattle and they have one in Boston every year, PAX East, PAX West. She's a big video gamer, and her job is literally giving children in the hospital video games to play. So they're sending her there to get a certification for child life development in the field of like interactive games and that kind of thing. She's taking workshops and also gets to enjoy PAX East in Boston, but also very sad to miss her very new baby, who's missing her greatly as well. So I'm alone with the baby for now.
Aw.
But it's working out okay.
Well, last time we chatted, I had been sick that day.
Yes.
Also violently throw-up-y ill. I thought it was because of my medication that I was on. But it had seemed to settle. I was feeling okay enough that we recorded,
I remember that.
And I was keeping food down. It was great. So then about 10:30 that night, stuff started coming out, both sides of the dice, and just a ton. I was wiped. I went to bed. I was like, well, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I thought I was feeling good enough that I thought I was going to work. Nope. And went to bed and then woke up at 2:30 and somehow just as much.
Where is it coming from?
I don't know, but somehow just as much came out again.
Oh my God. It's terrible.
And so it's like 3:30 in the morning. I've been in the bathroom next to or on the toilet for no less than 45 minutes to an hour. My stomach physically hurts.
Oh, I bet.
I am in a flop sweat. And I said to myself, I might not be okay. It was the first time in my life where I said, this might not get better. So I woke up Anna and I said, we need to go to the ER.
Oh, no.
So I had my first ER visit in my entire life.
Really?
Right after we recorded last time.
Jesus.
Because I was demolished in a way. Because I said to myself, if this is like a stomach flu, it's going to get better. If this is some food poisoning, it'll get better. But like, there's things like E. coli and there's things like listeria that kill people, Steve.
They true.
Kill people. And so I said, I got to go. So I went to the ER. They gave me an IV bag, some anti-nausetics, and some Pepsid, stuff to keep an eye on, and sent me home. But really getting me rehydrated.
Yeah, because you can't drink anything. Keep it down.
Because that's the thing. At that point, I had not only no liquid going in, but just liquid exiting my body for 30 hours at that point.
Yep.
But yeah, I had my first trip to the ER, like right after we talked last time.
And what sucks is like, do you know what it caused it? Like nothing. Like
we have the best thing that we have, the thought that we have is we had that afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, the day before, we'd had salads because we were being good. So we grabbed some pre-packed salads from Giant Eagle, our local grocer, and we each had a separate pre-packed salad. But otherwise, we had the same dinner. Like nothing else was different. So it was probably the pre-packed salad.
I've heard that those sometimes can be contaminated, but it's a crapshoot. You know, it's like, you don't know. I have them all the time too. I love prepackaged salads.
So you and I both celebrated by getting food poisoning.
And there's nothing more humiliating than being like 40 years old and just going back and forth, sitting and then leaning over that same toilet. just like, it's like, am I shitting? Am I throwing up? What am I doing? I'm just going back and forth here.
For me, it's the demoralizing moment of telling Anna, I couldn't get off the toilet, so I had to throw up in the trash can. I'm so sorry.
Oh, true love. True love.
True love.
Well, with that happy news, I think it brings us to some nerdy news.
It's time for Nerdy News.
So I'm going to call this one, Give Me Some of That Candy Bar. And it's a little bit of a walk, but
yeah,
you know the Three Musketeers candy bar. Well, there's famously a fourth musketeer, D'Artagnan, right? He's like the young upstart, the hothead, you know, and in the book he's like that, and also the movie adaptations. He's always the younger, kind of rakish one who's trying to be part of the more established Three Musketeers. Well,
yeah, he's got something to prove.
Yeah, he's rough. It's like they tell him to calm down. Like, just you can be one of us. Just calm down. Anyways, I never knew that the Three Musketeers were based off real people to begin with. I stupidly just thought it was a book by Alexander Dumas, and it was just like an adventure tale, and you know, it's set in that time period. But they were all real people who worked with the king and stuff went on adventures and that kind of thing. And the big thing apparently was they never knew where D'Artagnan was buried. Some even questioning whether he was, you know, an added thing in fiction. But just recently, this was as of today, our recording, the 26th of March, a skeleton of famed French musketeer Charles de Batz de Castlemore d'Artagnan may have been found in front of a church altar in the Dutch city of Maastricht, church officials and archaeologists said today. They basically found these remains, and they have these archaeological ways of saying that they think these belongings belong to him. So they're actually testing the skeleton with DNA analysis and that kind of stuff to prove it. But all the signs are pointing to they found the actual body of a prominent person with that exact name. And they're like, wow, we actually have him. And they have the jawbone, which is in really good shape. They're testing stuff against. So D'Artagnan can now be part of the Three Musketeers, and he's got some of that candy bar now.
That's right. Now we just got to get a fourth bar in that little package, because that's what it used to be. It used to be 3 different flavor bars.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a chocolate, a vanilla, and a strawberry. And that's why it's Three Musketeer. You got 3 mini bars in one pack.
What?
But then they basically found that by far the vanilla one was the most popular. So they just switched to all that at one point, but they kept the name.
But it's chocolate, the Three Musketeer.
No, but there's nougat inside.
Oh, you're saying the nougat one.
Vanilla,
Okay.
chocolate, strawberry. Yeah.
Oh, the nougat's different flavors. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because mind you, I would love a strawberry Three Musketeers. I think that sounds good as hell.
That'd be interesting for sure.
See?
Well, there you go. So give me some of that
welcome
candy
to the
bar.
club, D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan. And that brings us
For
to our
now, I
main
think that takes
segment.
us to
Nerd. What?
roll. Oh,
Fortune. That was disjointed as fuck, but that's okay.
That's okay. So are we.
That's right.
Okay. Let's roll. Start out, of course, the ceremonial rolling of a D6 to see how many topics we'll be covering to figure out how fast we need to talk about each topic.
That's right.
4.
4 topics. So a medium pace. All right. And so now we roll, if you haven't listened to this before, a D20 to find the larger topic we're going to talk about, and then a D10 to a subgenre within that topic. So I'll go ahead and roll that D20.
Okay.
And we got a 5. That takes us down to monsters and mythical creatures. Ooh, one of my favorites.
And the subcategory is going to be 4, which is Monster of the Week shows.
Okay. I like that.
And I'm going to mark that we've done it because now we're keeping track of that.
Well, right off the bat, one of my earliest favorite ones probably would be X-Files.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not always a monster, but I remember when they did have monsters, there were some really cool creatures on X-Files.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't an actual monster per se, it was like still that kind of format. What is the monster of the week, the situation of the week, the mystery, supernatural mystery we're solving kind of deal. But yeah, there's a lot of monsters in there as well. But yeah, I like that.
One of my favorites growing up that comes to mind is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that's more true monster of the week.
Especially as they got further in, because at first it was all vampires, but after they'd done vampires, 3rd or 4th season, it was some crazy, completely different thing every single week.
They had like dragons and gargoyles and all sorts of
angels and fairies and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was crazy. So that one comes to mind. And I think as the budget went up, they were able to do more prosthetics and that kind of thing also. I think is what it came
a lot of forehead monsters usually.
And then kind of, not say Monster of the Week, but, Star Trek in some ways kind of matches that pattern. Some
Alien
new
of the
alien
Week, yeah,
race we
pretty
haven't
much.
seen. All centered around just crazy prosthetics making things happen.
One of my favorites would be Supernatural, which I watched all of, but famously for me, just for myself, I don't like that they don't do any makeup typically for most of their monsters. So it's like he looks like a regular guy, but he's a Gorgon or he's a Wendigo, but it's like he looks normal. And if he ever transforms, they do it conveniently off camera or something, because I think it was a cost saving measure, of course, but he would have certain abilities that reflect that creature, but you never really see much prosthetics and makeup and Supernatural. It's more story driven and not really, which was kind of upsetting. I wish they had more of a budget so they could have done that, but it was definitely a Monster of the Week show.
Another one of my favorites, Seventh Heaven, except for the Monster of the Week was always Stephen Collins.
Stephen Collins, the monster, yes.
Every week it was Stephen Collins. Seventh Heaven.
My other favorite is Walker, Texas Ranger, because the Monster of the Week is always Chuck Norris kicking your ass.
Rest in peace, Chuck.
It just happened.
Also recognized what his name, Nicholas Brendan from Buffy just died.
That's true. We just talked about Buffy and the Buffy sequel series being canceled, and then he dies like a couple weeks after that. But
man, broke his heart.
Yeah, it's gone for good. But
so some great Monster of the Weeks.
Yeah, it's a good format. I think it'll always survive. It'll always be around because it's just entertaining and doesn't require a huge story arc. But it'll keep coming back. And they're bringing back the X-Files with Ryan Coogler directing, so that's gonna be pretty cool.
Oh, nice!
It's like a sequel series. They're like two agents dust off these old files because they're put in charge of like going through them, and so they kind of will bring up old cases, but also start new ones.
You get to do a bunch of homage stuff, some revisits, breach into new territory.
And Ryan Coogler doing it's an interesting take. I think that'd be awesome. So,
all right. Well, I think we did it.
We did it.
I'm going to roll the D20. You get the D10 ready. D20. Ooh, a 19. Way down the list.
Whoa.
19 is going to be science communication in media.
Okay. We got an
I don't
8
really
for
know
that.
what that means. Public understanding of physics.
That's very specific.
So the way I'm going to take this is like science communication in media is like physics in movies. Like as far as space physics. Let's see, movies with the best space physics.
And, the public understanding of physics is pretty low, I would say, but that's why we have physics. Oh, wait, not physicians.
2001 A Space
physicists.
Odyssey is on a lot of these lists.
Probably
So,
the Project Hail Mary guy with doing what's his Mars movie called? Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon, Mars.
And the
Mars,
potatoes.
Matt Damon. The Martian. Got there. Yeah, Space Odyssey, of course, true because there are giant floating space fetuses everywhere, as we all know. So very accurate.
That's how that works.
Also on this list, Gravity. I know Gravity got a lot of crazy aplomb at the time it came out. Did you go see it in theaters?
I did, yeah, and it was great to see in theater because it's visual spectacle. And I'm part of these like home theater groups on Facebook now because I have the dream of one day, having a nice home theater system, which I don't have now. But they're always talking about what's some great reference movies to watch once you've got your whole thing set up. And they're like, oh, Gravity, one of the top 10 to watch, just because it's just such a beautiful spectacle and the surround sound is so perfect for it,
Yeah, and doesn't it opens with like a 17-minute continuous shot or something nuts?
Something like that, yeah. And George Clooney being smarmy,
I don't know, but I like, when movies didn't have to be accurate, when space almost became a fantasy land where anything could happen.
Agreed.
I just watched a little mini doc on, God, what the hell was the name? Funny Mars movie.
Mars Attacks?
No, Rocket Man.
Don't know that one.
So Rocket Man, it stars Harland Williams, who you'll recognize.
Oh, I know
from
Harland
something.
Williams,
He's been
yeah.
doing acting forever. But I just saw it. So in the doc, it explains how originally it was supposed to be like an Ernest Goes to Space movie. But then Jim Varney fell out with the studio and went to a different studio to make his movie. So it kind of sat. And then they tried to get like Jim Carrey into it and they couldn't. And then it became Harland Williams somehow, who was like this
C-list
brand new upstart comic that didn't have a name and was cheap. And but I remember in that movie, all sorts of nutty things happened that couldn't really happen. Like one point he farts in his spacesuit and it bloats out on Mars. And then like he sends the fart over to another guy's spacesuit. Like that's the sci-fi I want.
Of course. Or, the zero space physics that are explained in Star Wars because it's all space magic. So who cares?
Oh, true. Like the way, like they never really get into like how the propulsion systems on those ships work.
Just make up
To
some
just
words.
jettison them through space with no obvious external thrust.
Yeah.
Like TIE fighters. How did TIE fighters get around?
Like this. The power of making weird noises. It's like Dune. You make noises with your mouth and magic stuff happens.
That's not in the book, though. They just made that shit up for the movie. Give them guns to shoot. But no, I don't pretend to know physics well enough to judge any movie.
No, me neither.
It's just the reality. Like I understand like equal and opposite reaction. So when you throw a force away from yourself in 0G, you both go away from each other. Like I get some of that stuff, but right now, Dr. Ian Cohen somewhere is sitting shaking his head at us.
Sorry, Ian. One thing I did love.
You still haven't learned anything, Ian.
One thing I did love in the Star Wars sequels, I can't remember which movie it's in, that was a show of physics happening. I think I've heard that it was done well, if this would actually happen, is with, what's her name from Jurassic Park? The female doctor in Jurassic Park.
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern's character, she like sacrifices herself by shooting her ship like through a whole fleet.
Oh yeah.
She like goes into hyperdrive through a fleet, and so it just like obliterates them. And the sound design, it's like quiet because you wouldn't hear anything in space, and it's just like, and they all just kind of blow up in a second and then slowly explode or something like that. It was just so cool and just like it felt sciencey. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I actually dug that scene as well in what was overall not a great movie.
Right.
But getting to see something that we're so familiar with, that transition to lightspeed being weaponized, like being used in a way that we as an audience have literally never seen it over dozens of times seeing it, was itself a nice surprise.
That was very ingenuitive. I thought that was pretty cool. But yes, we apologize to Ian and Ian's estate.
And also Raul Julia for no reason.
Yes, exactly.
All right. I think it's your D20, my D10.
All right. As a 14, that's going to be video game culture and lore.
With subcategory number 1, RPG world building.
All righty. Well, we have some experience with that as far as playing games.
So let's see. True RPG.
I mean, back in 2004, at least, we started playing an MMORPG with World of Warcraft.
Yeah, true. But the lore on, I don't know if you've looked, the lore on WoW is nuts.
It wasn't nuts at the time. It was started off with a limited amount of material that you could actually kind of consume. I read some of the books at the time. We had played the Warcraft games before that, so we were kind of up to speed. But now it's just gone off the deep end. It's basically like Fortnite now, so I don't even know what's going on.
Gods and titans and primordial beings and dragons and dragon gods. And each expansion, it feels like they're like, shit, we didn't leave any room to expand. All right, build a whole different room.
Now there's elder gods.
And then every 6 years, we're going to bring back the Lich King for some reason.
The Lich King is now Cthulhu. Woo! He's got tentacles now.
But when you talk about, now mind you, our current sort of definition of RPG kind of omits some of the old ones. But, Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time.
Full-on RPG right there.
There was a set progression, which is why it's sort of hard to classify with current RPGs, where it's like choose your own adventure kind of, play the way you want to play. With Zelda, there was really only a few decisions you could do different than what the game wanted. A few items you could get in different orders, that sort of thing.
I thought what it's called Zorp, the text-based thing. That was like the first ever like computer game RPG where it's only text-based.
Oh Lord, I don't know.
I think it was called Zorp or Zork. My buddy David Horgan would be upset with me for not knowing, but he's a Gen X, so he knows what it is. But yeah, it was like the hugely popular, but it was all text-based. And it's like, it'd say, what do you do? And you literally type in what you're going to do. As long as you had certain keywords in there, it was programmed to know what it would do next. And it was very ahead of its time for just a text-based game. But that's like the first one I can think of. But I don't play a lot of RPGs because I don't have a lot of time anymore.
Yeah, true. They are the kind of games where it's hard to like dip in and dip out.
Yeah. Like Baldur's Gate 3. Like my wife played all of that, but I didn't get a chance to play it. But that's based off Dungeons and Dragons, which is a tabletop role-playing game. So there you go.
All right. But yeah, some great role building out there. One of the games I never quite got as far as like RPG building is like, technically Last of Us, I would classify as an RPG.
Yeah.
And I tried playing it and I might have been able to figure it out on like a mouse and keyboard, but it had the thickest control scheme I have ever experienced on a controller. Way too many modifiers, and you have to hold this at the same time as this, but if you hold this at a different time, but then each button does something different, if you're holding a different direction on the keypad, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep this much information in my hands.
It's like you're losing track of the story there if you're trying to focus way too much on the actual controls of the game.
I went to throw a brick, and instead I stood up and clapped my hands. Why would they have a button for that?
Why am I doing Gundam style? What's happening here?
And the zombies got me again.
I guess the Telltale games are big into the storytelling, but I don't know if that's role-playing game because you're kind of being railroaded to tell. but there's different ending. I don't know what classifies necessarily a role-playing game, what's a bigger genre that has smaller genres in it, but yeah, it's a lot of games.
But then, of course, my favorite, but it's not a video game, but Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, there you go.
TT RPG.
Tabletop. All right.
I think we are on our last category. I think you owe us a D20.
20. Number 7. That's going to be
7.
The science in sci-fi. Sounds similar to what we talked about.
2 of these in one episode.
Should I roll again?
Nope. 8. Colonization Ethics. Okay, this is interesting.
Boo.
So some of my favorite, I guess, sci-fi books sort of center around this. Everything ranging from Starship Troopers,
Ender's Game,
Ender's Game, and that whole series, Ender's Game, especially the Ender side of the series, is all about colonization efforts as humans head out into the world.
The Expanse is big on that.
But I think that in sci-fi today, everyone thinks like Avatar, but I feel like that's such a dumbed down, unnuanced.
Oh yeah, it's just
version.
It's just showy stuff. That's all it is. But I think The Expanse was basically Game of Thrones in space, and is all about like colonization of planets and mining facilities and colonies and all this stuff. It was just all politics, and it handles it very well. I didn't read the books though. I forgot what the series is called. I mean, it's just The Expanse is the name of the series, but there's like 6 or 7 books.
And then, how many times in TV and movies, even in Star Trek, which we talk about regularly, like, how many times where the perceived bad guy is accidentally hurting something on the planet he knows nothing about. The Horta specifically comes to mind.
Yes.
From original series. Like, oh, we just found these weird crystalline structures everywhere. We just destroy them. And the Horta's like, no, my baby.
My children.
Pain.
Pain.
Terrible pain. But it's a trope that we've seen everywhere where it's almost media's way of writing white guys a pass because they didn't do it on purpose, over and over again.
If we follow the rules that Star Trek wants to follow, which is don't interfere only if you're going to interfere, you try to wait till they're at your level and also help them and not be hurting them. But we'll never be at that point because humans are terrible. So, yeah.
But even in Ender's Game, my favorite book that my daughter just finished for the first time. So proud of her.
Nice.
The whole idea is that the Formics were coming to colonize Earth, but it was only because they didn't understand the idea of another sentient being. Because they are not, a hive mind, so they couldn't comprehend another form of life.
That makes sense. I forgot about that.
So they didn't know they were wiping out millions of consciousness. They thought they were just pushing back, the drones of some other force.
Yeah.
And so even then it becomes this question of like, is Ender the bad guy for killing all of them? That's literally him dealing with the guilt of wiping out an entire alien race is the next 3 books.
Oof. It's deep.
It is. It is so deep. That's why if you love Ender's Game, you may not like the rest of the series because it is not Ender's Game.
And then you have Lord of the Rings, which is not sci-fi, but fantasy. And that's, Sauron trying to just, annihilate and take over all of, Middle Earth, colonizing all of that for himself and fighting against that, So who's the bad guy?
And then orcs all just looking for like a homeland to call their own after being forced out and
forced to be alive.
Yeah, it's all just land disputes.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
Man. Well, now we all have to take a deep look in the mirror, nerds.
Don't colonize people.
Well, that was a good trip through Nerd Roll of Fortune. Thank you, AI Overlords. And this time, I made sure to mark what we've already done.
Fantastic. And that brings us to some radical recommends.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
All right. For those of you who might have seen Amazon Prime's original Jury Duty TV show, which had James Marsden kind of being as the celebrity to hook people into this idea because it was strange and different at the time, where basically there's a man who joins a jury, not knowing that everyone there is a paid actor and he's the only person who's not an actor. And the hijinks ensue in this. But what made this show so lovable, it could have failed so hard, is that the guy they found to be the one person not an actor who didn't know what was going on was just a genuine, sweet, kind guy who was just really trying to help everybody out and make it work and was along for the ride but didn't know what was happening. And so it was just a lovely show and just funny as heck. So many different comedic improv actors who weren't famous, because if they were too famous, the guy would recognize them. But they had James Marsden playing himself, who is stuck on jury duty as himself an actor. So that was how they played that off. But now there's Jury Duty season 2, which is not a jury at all. It's a company retreat. And it's basically the conceit now is they've hired this guy to be a temp person, a new person who's not an actor, who's going to work on their company retreat. And as he gets there, he finds out that the owner of this hot sauce company that's going on this company retreat is retiring and leaving his company to his kind of goofy, maybe irresponsible son, and what hijinks will ensue over this company retreat. And that's what I started watching now. And it's just as lovable as the first season so far. The guy who they found to dupe this on is also another sweet, kind human being who's just really trying to make it work and is nice to everybody he meets. I don't know how they find these genuine good human beings. But anyway, did you see the first season, Steven?
So I will admit, I tried to watch Jury Duty and I could not get into it the way that everyone else did. I think I watched 2 episodes and kind of went, eh. But I gotta say, this premise is interesting enough that I'm planning to revisit.
It's bigger, and you wouldn't have to watch the first season at all. Obviously, it's not related, so you can just jump into this one. And it feels like as soon as I started watching this, because I just watched The Paper with Jolie, we're big Office fans, and The Paper's the new in the same universe actually as The Office, but it's a whole new show. And it was okay.
Yeah, we're playing catch up on that right now. We're probably 8 or 9 episodes in.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's going to probably get its sea legs and get better by season 2, I imagine. But this show feels exactly like what should the new Office reboot should feel like, because all these actors are just no-name improv actors. They're weird-looking people. They're normal-looking people, and it's awkward and cringy, but yet sweet, just like The Office was. Like, this feels like The Office the way it should have been a sequel series. The Paper kind of missed the mark. Everyone's too good looking. Everyone's, everything's too slick and polished. But it's still good, and I think the Paper will get better. But this just feels like it jumped right into like an Office universe. These people are so dysfunctional and ridiculous. It's really good. So I definitely recommend it.
Well, what I like about this, once again, the premise is what's bringing me back, because the first one wasn't that interesting to me. But I like that they found a social situation that has tighter constraints for their main subject, but also more social pressure involved. Because in the jury, that was my issue with the jury, is it felt too random. Like it could be anyone there, and there were some fun rando characters, but because of that, there wasn't a good, clear power dynamic.
Right.
The social pressure on the main guy had to be manufactured in a way that wasn't always what I felt, fair. But there is social pressure. There is the social pressure of him being the new guy in the office, him being invited on this retreat, the hierarchy of the boss and the sub bosses. Like, all of that structure is built into the situation they put him in. So for me, that makes it much more compelling.
Yes, that's a good point, because there's previous relationships there between those characters, so they can have a rapport with each other already, and it makes it feel more lived in and more real characters, 3-dimensional characters.
Right.
These improv actors are incredible. I don't know how they found these people, but they're really good.
There are literally like 1 million of them in LA.
Yeah.
So they literally just had to put out a thing that said like free food table, come improv.
They'll never run out.
And they all showed up. And like 5 of them had puppets. It was probably real weird.
And they're actually all really good somehow. It's like, because they're waiting for work. But anyways, I recommend Jury Duty Presents Company Retreat is technically what it's called on Amazon Prime Video.
And then, with your stamp of endorsement, and I'm going to go with my gut.
Yeah, you should do it. Absolutely. And that brings us to some trailer reviews.
right, this week I chose the trailer for the much anticipated Spider-Man Brand New Day. The newest entry post Doctor Strange, No Way Home, where Doctor Strange erased the world's memory of Spider-Man and was kind of left open-ended. I am excited for this it sort of seems like a soft reboot in some ways.
Yeah.
We're going to revisit themes from other movies, people finding out, him hiding a secret. So in that regard, it's going to feel familiar. But I like that we're finally getting a callback to the Scorpion, who was set up multiple movies ago at this point and never got his heyday. We have the, is it the Hand?
Yep, from
is back
Daredevil.
in action. So we're going to, Hand from Daredevil and Iron Fist for all that was worth. Coming back in, we've got some street level people involved. At least one. We saw Punisher, John Bernthal, but Daredevil's definitely showing up. Like, there's no way he's not showing up.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where people have already done CG breakdowns, and just like the last Spider-Man movie, where there was like a shot where Spider-Man was jumping and all the bad guys were jumping, and they were like, there's clearly two spaces in this frame where there should be people.
Oh, yeah.
They're already picking that apart and found there's one shot where it's like, there are probably at least two characters missing from this shot that they are hiding from our existence.
At least Daredevil.
So that sort of stuff really intrigues me, and I like that they showed a good amount in this trailer, but they didn't overtip the hand, which I really appreciate. More and more in a trailer, I appreciate
the hand. I like as well that this has been commented a lot online since this trailer dropped, that if you look at the way it looks compared to a lot of recent Marvel films, including the last two Spider-Man films, it looks like a movie again, because they've said so many movies recently have gone into what they call Netflix lighting, which is where everything's lit flat, where it's cheaper and easier to do post-production if everything is just lit all around. Oftentimes they're also in front of a green screen for almost the whole movie, especially in superhero films. And so everything's just very flatly lit. There's not a lot of interesting mise en scène, as we learned in film school, which is like things in the foreground and like, things that made things look dynamic and look like older movies that seemed like they put some work into each shot, because it's too expensive to do that, to churn these things out. But this trailer, there's like dynamic lighting. It looks lit completely differently than the previous Spider-Man films. It's the director is actually the guy who did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Well, he didn't do the movie. He wrote the movie, but he last directed Wonder Man, a couple episodes, but he's directed very few things, but he's done a lot of writing and producing. But either way, people are happy that this movie looks good. It looks like a movie. Like, it looks like they put some effort into the shots, and maybe more dramatic than previous Spider-Man films. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's just, Marvel's not doing so hot. They've had a string of boring movies we don't care about. There's not a connected universe that we really care about anymore. So I think I'm
excited to get into this new era. It's not their fault what happened with Kang.
Yeah, that's not their fault.
It's not their fault what happened with Kang. And I think Bob Iger had the right idea coming in. And during COVID, they diversified way too much stuff into Disney Plus. They gave up way too many movie ideas into Disney Plus.
Agreed.
To turn into shows that ended up hitting flat because they didn't have the budget, they didn't have the time they needed to really be a thing. So I like that Bob Iger's like, we're pulling back on all the show stuff. We're going back to doing movies. We're going to do limited movies.
Right.
So that each movie means something. And now we're getting Doomsday and then Secret Wars after that.
They should have recast Kang. That's what they should have done.
They should have. And I think we discussed it at the time that, like, if they had just recast Kang and move on, we all would have gone with them.
Absolutely.
The audience was sold on Kang. And you're talking about a thing where, like, there's limitless realities where there could be a different Kang. Why is this a problem? I don't understand. But I'm excited for Doctor Doom. I'm excited for Doomsday. I like that we're going to see some minor team-ups, I think. It's like here, I'm willing to bet that shot where Spider-Man is jumping and then the foot is jumping is like him, Daredevil, and maybe the Hulk, because we do see Ruffalo in this trailer.
True.
So like a minor team-up, I think would be friggin' excellent.
Apparently Tombstone is going to be in this movie, which is a comic book character. Keith David is narrating the trailer, and they think there's weird possible characters Keith David could be playing, other villains that he could be playing, because you don't waste Keith David. He's pretty badass. And if you don't know who he is, look him up. You'll recognize his face and his voice. From everything.
You'll know him immediately.
Gargoyles, man. But anyways, I think this focusing on street level again for Spider-Man is great too. And then bring in Jessica Jones. I think she's back in Born Again, the new TV series, which I haven't seen any of that yet.
Yeah, I just watched the first episode. She hasn't shown up yet, but I know she is in the cast.
Right.
Hell, bring back her. Bring back Luke Cage.
Love Luke Cage.
We can leave Iron Fist outside. We don't need...
Yeah.
We're good without that guy.
He can stay meditating in the temple or something. It's fine.
But I would love to see Luke Cage in there.
Yeah, me too.
And in addition, and I don't know where this is going to play out, did you get to catch any of Wonder Man?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Really grounded and really good.
I heard it was really good. Got season 2, so that's good.
And like even the premise is very, very well thought out. And his motivation is really well thought out, which is not something you really get to say for a Marvel property that often.
They're actually thinking about what they're putting out now. It's great.
But I'm not sure if he's going to end up, he's too powerful for them not to address it again. Spoiler free, he is too powerful for them not to address it again. But he's reading more street level. So I would love to see them get Wonder Man integrated somewhere.
That'd be cool. At least by Doomsday.
So I'm stoked. I'm, for the first time in a long time, kind of optimistic about where Marvel is headed. But I think they have like 2 movies to prove to the public that they still got it.
They're hanging on by a thread here.
This is one of them. Yep, this is one of them. So I'm going to give this a Gary Busey Saturday morning downstairs in his Spider-Man jammies. And he's at one of the old televisions that for some reason he still has. It has the big knob on it. Like, we had kids. Click, 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 click. He's going through different cartoons. And Raul comes down the stairs and goes, "Gary, not so close to the screen, buddy." And then goes back upstairs.
And then I'm going to give this, Raul goes back upstairs after that. And he sits down in his bed and just stares at the wall and goes, just starts crying.
Oh, man.
But it's a hopeful cry, Maybe the future's better.
Cry. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, on a very special 243 of A Play on Nerds. Join us next time where... in honor of a much anticipated film, The Yeti, starring the indomitable Corbin Burnson. If you don't know who he is, look him up. You've seen him in something. We're going to take a look at a different piece of Bigfoot fare, because I don't think there have been enough dedicated Bigfoot movies. Do you, Jarman?
There's never enough.
Never enough. We're going to be taking in the 2006 classic Abominable.
Yes.
In honor of The Yeti. Both movies you've definitely heard of. And if you haven't, you will after this episode.
This one starring the indomitable Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, everyone. All of that and more next time. Come on back and be our nerdy audience. We will come on back and be your nerdy co-hosts. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Feel free to email feedback at aplayonnerds.com with all your questions or comments.
Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and earn yourself a sweet shout out on the show.
Review us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so even more nerds can find us. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, we aren't picky.
Check out our entire back catalog and other offerings at aplayonnerds.com.
And how?